Welcome to It's Her Game podcast, a shout out to all the amazing women in the gaming industry, no matter if it's mobile, PC, console, or esport. My name is Dominika Schott, and my goal here is to introduce you to those inspiring heroines of the gaming world. If you want to find out more about this podcast, make sure you check Facebook page, It's Her Game, or connect with me on Twitter at Dominika Schott, spelling Dominika SZOT. And now, let's start! Hello and welcome to the first episode of It's Her Game show. Today I have the great honor of introducing my first guest, Darya Rubashna.
Hi, Dominika. Hi, it's a great pleasure to be here.
Thanks. So, Darya, currently you are in charge of the services of Huawei AppGallery for English-speaking countries. But previously, you were deeply involved in esports and gaming operations at YouTube. Could you please tell us something more about your education and career path, and what made you choose the gaming industry at all?
Of course. So my path towards gaming has been a little bit not linear. I started by studying at university economics and law because that's what I thought that you needed to study in order to get into any sort of marketing or business development role. And my main goal at that time was to enter the music industry. It was a really big dream for me, and so I was doing everything to enter into that sphere. And in the second year of uni, I went to Poland and did an internship in at Google. It was an opportunity given at our university, and there I met some of my now very good friends from YouTube, and that was basically my goal. That I need to enter into YouTube, and that will get me closer to the music industry. And this is how it all started. So after finishing university, I somehow managed to get into YouTube after 5 tries, and I entered a role that gave me the perspective of all the industry. So I saw music, I saw gaming, I saw broadcasting, sports, news, and so on and so forth. But again, my goal was always to get into the music industry. And and while I was working at YouTube, while I was working with all those different partners, I realized that music was not what I wanted to do. Actually, it was not the industry that I enjoy being in. And then there was gaming, and I was always playing games since I was a child. I think I've had all the PlayStation consoles. I had even like a console called Dandy, which was a ripoff of the Nintendo 64 that was being sold in Ukraine in the 90s. So I was an avid gamer. I just never considered it to be a path for me. I just didn't even know anything about it, and with YouTube I discovered it, and there was an opportunity for me to enter the a gaming position. So I started my career in gaming as head of YouTube gaming for Eastern Europe and Italy, and then I progressed into leading esports for the European region. And uh, and before joining Huawei, I was leading esports and top gaming and influencer content for Europe, which was amazing, to be honest, because starting from like a dream that I thought it would be true, I actually found my real dream and my real passion. So I'm quite lucky.
Yeah, that's great to hear that. Especially that even looking at our industry now, you are somehow connected to the entertainment industry and the music as well. Even looking at the Travis Scott recent show in Fortnite, right? So there is some music in this gaming world in the end.
Yeah, for sure. There is a lot of crossover. I think, yeah, Fortnite has, helped a lot in bringing the two worlds together.
Yeah, absolutely. So, considering that the gaming turned out to be the dreamed job of yours, what do you like the most about working in gaming?
What I enjoyed the most, which was the huge difference between music and gaming industry, is the way that it is disruptive in its naturally rather than fictitiously. You have people and you have companies that keep disrupting the gaming industry compared to, for example, the music one, where the industry is changing, but almost reluctantly, due to the general landscape and the trends in user behavior. It is the opposite in gaming. This is what I love the most. You can be who you are. You can do whatever you want, and if you have an idea, no one stops you from making it true.
Yeah, I agree. Gaming is very inclusive in that terms that you can develop the idea from the grain and become the best in RPGs or shooters or casual games. There are so many facets of that, and it's still a constantly changing landscape. And I would say that it's kind of the wild west of the technology world. What would you consider the most challenging part of working in this industry then?
So while it is disruptive and inclusive in terms of the trends and in its the way it develops, I think there is still a way to go towards women inclusivity, women inclusion. Uh, and When I entered into into this world, at the beginning, the challenge that I saw is that no one saw me as a real gamer. They saw me as this
Mhm.
girl who had a really strong business background, but not someone that understands gaming. And when I was introduced, it was like, oh yeah, Daria, she's great, but she's not a hardcore gamer. And to me this was almost insulting, because I play games similar as anyone else in that room. It just like there is that assumption that women are now gamers. And so I think there is still some way to go towards changing that perception of yeah, inclusion, and that we as women, we do play video games.
Yes, I myself remember many situations in which I surprised people by admitting that I'm working in gaming, and then the essential question: so nice, you're working in this industry. Do you play any games at all? So I can totally relate to what you've just described, and I really hope that at some point it will be normal for us to be the gamers, and we wouldn't have to discuss that as an issue of our sector. And I can absolutely confirm that you're a gamer. I know you had your streaming channel, and I know
Oh
that
no,
you.
my secret is
Yes,
revealed.
I know. I know. We won't discuss that much, but I remember once we've met for the first time that you've been mentioning that. So I can 100% confirm, yes, Daria is a gamer. So if anyone has any issues with that or doesn't believe, there is a confirmation. Here it is.
Yes, thank you, Dominica. But
Yeah.
don't reveal my channel name, please.
Yes, no worries. So you were previously working at YouTube and now you're at Huawei. Would it be correct if I say that at the time you were at YouTube, it was more about the desktop and console gaming than mobile?
So, in part, this is true. So, when I started working in YouTube gaming, all the top games in our charts, most watched videos and live streams, were PC or console titles. And I think, throughout the years we saw already some change in the trend. We saw more and more mobile games coming into into this top charts. having said that, even those trends, they were primarily coming from Southeast Asian countries, Latam countries. So for Western Europe, which was the markets that I was focusing on, they were still predominantly PC or console titles.
Yes, and considering that and your previous experience, do you see any new trends emerging among the gaming content creators now?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, like mobile is one of them, and while the trend is not necessarily fully developed in Western countries, we're seeing that trend from other countries, and I would expect that in Europe, in North America, we would see a similar evolution. And on top of that, the biggest trend is, of course, live streaming. Live streaming it has boomed in the recent maybe 5 years, and it has boomed to a point that actually people don't even consider VOD, video on demand content anymore, and they think live streaming is the only gaming content, whereas in reality it's not true. When I used to work at YouTube and go to these different gaming conventions and explain that live streaming is great and it's booming, it's a big trend, yet it's only 15%. It was 15% at the time. Now it's around maybe 18% of the total hours watched, of the total content watched. And
Oh, we have a guest.
it's my little dog called Sparkus.
Yeah.
uh, so the pleasures of working from home.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of live streaming, you know? Normally that would be all recorded, so no worries. We're now just redefining the podcast
Ex-
trends, that's fine.
exactly. So so definitely, sorry, still thinking about my dog.
That's fine.
So what I was saying is the that video on demand content is still the majority of the content, and it is, yeah, let's say roughly 75 or 85%. And but I need to acknowledge, of course, the booming trend of live streaming and how it changed the the way people watch gaming content.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you're saying. I remember once you mentioned that for the first time when I heard you presenting about the YouTube content at Huawei, and it was really interesting that this percentage, this split, that the live stream is less more popular than the VOD video. And even though I'm working in the industry, I was surprised about the stats. So that's definitely something that proves that when someone is saying one thing, it can escalate to being considered a trend. But in the end, the numbers speaks for themselves. So that's really important to pay focus to that, I guess, as well.
Yeah. And I mean, it is, when you think about it more, you would think about, like, okay, how do people consume gaming content? There are not actually that many people that are prepared to switch on, Twitch or YouTube and spend hours watching someone playing video games. In most cases, you would want to, you're coming back from school, from work, and you have 10-15 minutes to kill, and you just want to be entertained, and so you want some snackable bite-sized content rather than watching hours and hours of content. This is when we talk about the general
Mhm.
audience and viewers watching this sort of content.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially that the basic motivation for consuming that content is different. Like you said, live streaming is more like hanging out with friends to watch the live stream, and the VOD is rather to develop the skills or being purely entertained. And we like entertainment. We like this feeling. So I totally understand where the motivation for the viewers is coming from. And currently, you are in charge of mobile services. So, naturally, the gaming operations are probably more about mobile. How would you compare the type of entertainment that is delivered by mobile games to the experience of playing on PC or console?
Sure. So, I mean, when people think about mobile games, the first thing that comes to their mind is Candy Crush, and that's one sort of entertainment. So we're talking about casual, sometimes even offline content, something a game you play when you have 5 minutes, or you're going basically from work or to school, and you have basically time to kill. And yes, that is a big part of mobile gaming. Yet, thanks to the advancements in mobile technology and the mobile specs, now we find more and more of immersive games. And even before, we mentioned briefly Fortnite. It's one of the best examples how a PC or console title became cross-platform, and now you can easily play the game on your mobile phone, on your tablet. And so I would see this as a huge trend in the recent years, in terms of the type of entertainment and different type of entertainment that now mobile gaming provides.
So you mentioned that the gaming is becoming more cross-platform, but also the mobile specs are better than they used to be. What do you think it can mean for AAA developers then?
I think it's a really, really good opportunity for them to enter that market. I've read recently, although it's not a surprise, that revenue coming from mobile games is larger than revenue coming from PC and console titles combined. So, as a AAA publisher developer, you are surely extremely interested in touching that audience, into making sure that those audiences that don't have the PC or a console can play your game. And thanks to the advancements of technology, now they can produce games and develop games that one can play on mobile as well.
Yeah, I think it's particularly interesting what is happening in this sector now, especially that the development of the mobile devices allows to reach different segments, different target groups with the quality content that normally was reserved for PC or consoles. So I guess that's something really interesting to observe nowadays. Mm, and from your perspective, is there any project from AAA developers that you particularly are looking forward to in terms of mobile games?
Yes, Dominican, you must be very pleased to learn that my utmost favorite game that I'm very curious about coming into to mobile is The Witcher. So
Yay.
there is a game called The Witcher: The Monster Slayer, which is, of course, is a spin-off of the Witcher saga on console and PC.
Yeah, so straight from Poland. That's really nice to hear, and I'm glad that you like Witcher. But I think that like is slightly underestimating of your emotions toward Witcher. So I believe that you're slightly more passionate than to just like the game. Can you disclose how many hours you played?
So the last time I checked on PlayStation, because PlayStation actually gives you like yearly numbers of how many hours you played in like single game, and it was something above 100 or 110 hours of The Witcher 3, which means that I played every single mission in the game except Gwent. That's the part that I'm sorry I'm not able to understand. But everything else, yes, I played. I'm a huge fan. I'm reading the books. I finished the first book of The Witcher. I watched the series on Netflix. So yes, now the game coming into mobile is a huge excitement for me.
Yeah, so it's slightly more to it than just to like the game.
Yes, it is.
And you mentioned the Witcher, the monster slasher, and it's the augmented reality game. So, what do you think about mobile games with AR? Would you see a future for them on streaming or VOD platforms?
I think we're not there yet. When I was working at YouTube, we launched this app, YouTube Gaming, which was later deprecated, and the app was developed, you know, of course, to target the audience with gaming only content on YouTube, but also we had a feature there that allowed you to basically stream from your mobile and stream your face, but also what's happening in the game or what's happening outside. And we developed that feature precisely to counter the hype of Pokemon Go at that time. Uh, and at the end, Pokemon Go sadly became the only top game in AR that people would are also interested in watching. So I think we're not there yet in terms of AR. First of all, AR games. After Pokemon Go, there have been few you know global successes. So my expectation, even though with The Witcher, yes, there is a lot of skepticism, like if they will manage to deliver sort of this great experience and combine the game with AR functionality, and then there is the added complexity of how you deliver it to an audience via a VOD. Live streaming is even more complicated to deliver, and I'm not sure if we're there yet in terms of the functionality. In terms of even when Pokemon Go was a great success, it was still not necessarily the best experience to watch it from a content creator perspective. So these are people, influencers. They don't have all the equipment at hand to provide high quality content. At least not always. So that's definitely something that I would be curious also to learn and see how it evolves.
Yeah, it's really interesting to learn about all the background work that is behind creating the content, the VOD or the live stream content. This is not just to hit play and start recording. And like you said, it sometimes required more equipment, and there's much more to that than just switching on the computer and the microphone. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on
and
that.
and and I'm talking obviously as an experienced streamer with 500 subscribers. I can say that for example, I don't stream mobile games, and not because I don't like them, but it's just because I need to buy additional things, which are not only an expense for creators, but it's also additional work. And
Hmm.
mobile games, again, even though they're evolving and their entertainment becomes more immersive, we still are not at the same level as a PC or console title. So from a watchability, I don't know if we can say that
Yeah.
perspective, it's like, from like, you as a creator, you need to buy more things, you need to do more work, and then the reward might not be necessarily appreciated, unless of course you're talking about top mobile titles that are now popular on streaming and VOD platforms. But as I mentioned earlier, it the the content is booming in specific markets.
Yeah, absolutely. And regarding the development of the mobile games, then, what PC or console title would you like to see in the mobile version? Is there any?
So there is no specific game per se that I would say uh, that I would like to see in on mobile. That if you asked me a month ago, I would have said it would be The Witcher, but now I know they're releasing a game, so it's not the case anymore. But in terms of the genre, I would love to see more narrative based games coming out on mobile. So the likes of Far Cry, Last of Us, Resident Evil, and many other games are driven by narrative. That is something that it is still not a trend on mobile, and I would like to have more games like that.
Yeah, I think it also requires a slightly change of habits in terms of playing mobile games, right? Because if we look at the mobile titles, they are more mostly now to kill the time. So they are like 5-10 minutes long tops gameplays. And with the immersive stories, that would require people to, well, as the name suggests, immerse into them. So I think that's really interesting to trend to observe whether the mobile industry will go into this direction, especially considering the hard entrance of AAA developers, what
Yeah.
they're gonna do with it.
And I think, even though we here we're focusing specifically on mobile in this podcast, I think it's also worth noting uh, the streaming gaming streaming platforms such as Stadia from Google or Luna from Amazon. This is where I think it's also a very interesting trend to watch, because exactly, like, as you mentioned, like, you're not sure if you would play this game, all the 10 hours of the game on mobile. What a streaming platform would allow you to do is that when you're home, you can play it on your TV with your gamepad on your PC if you want. But then if you're not at home, you can play it on mobile. And this is also interesting. And this is like the cross platform on its purest form. But again, streaming industry is still quite young. So we'll see if it will become more and more successful.
Yes, it's beautiful in our sector that there are so many blooming trends, and you can still bet on them whether they're gonna succeed or not, because there's still plenty of this pie to cut. So let's see where the streaming will go in this direction. And how do you think the growth of mobile gaming can affect the gaming live streams and VOD scene?
So, previously I mentioned that the technical, requirements, yeah, in order to create content, mobile gaming content on YouTube or Twitch, you need additional cables or equipments, and it adds to the complexity of creating content for mobile. Having said that, by no means it is a barrier. When we've had Clash Royale booming as a game, you had so many YouTubers, you had so many, like, there was even, the esports leagues created for the game. So it is not an absolute barrier, but it does create a barrier of entry for let's say more amateur streaming, or people that have just a computer, and in theory you could stream or create content for a PC game. But if you want to stream a mobile game, then you need to buy additional things, which adds work and expenses.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah.
So yeah, regarding the pace of the society and the fact that we prefer the bite-sized content, like we've spoke about the mobile games, and generally the way we consume the entertainment now, would you consider TikTok a competition for YouTube or Twitch in terms of becoming the next platform for gaming content, or would you see another scenario where they can all coexist?
I definitely see TikTok more as being complementary to primary gaming content platforms such as YouTube or Twitch or even Facebook gaming to some extent. And this is purely for the because of the way that TikTok is enjoyed and watched. We first of all, you normally would watch videos on TikTok in vertical mode, and right now there are not that many games to watch in vertical. I think yeah, Clash Royale is actually one good example, but in general it's not this sort of the experience that people have. And secondly, and probably even most importantly, is the duration. So while I did mention that people prefer bite-sized content as a general trend, yet we're talking about 10 minutes video, 15 minutes videos. TikTok provides 30 seconds videos, maybe a couple minutes now. Yet it's not enough for you to enjoy gaming content because it takes you maybe 2 minutes to jump from a plane and then land into the land. So I think the right now I don't see TikTok as being the competitor, but more as a complementary platform where creators or developers and publishers would advertise their content on TikTok, would provide teasers for their live streams, for their events, for their games, but then to enjoy the videos or these events in full, people would need to go to another platform.
Yeah, so following the bite size analogy, TikTok would rather be a snack, and on YouTube you can eat the full meal, right?
Exactly. And on Twitch, you have the full feast.
Yeah, exactly. Great. So, once we're recording this episode, the Call of Duty Mobile Women League is taking place in India. So, do you think there is a place for mobile esports leagues in Europe too?
For sure. So there was already a bit of that trend with Clash Royale. We've had so many esports teams and in leagues coming out of Spain, even some popular YouTubers creating those esports teams. Yet it didn't really boom anywhere beyond that game. And only now, thanks to Call of Duty Mobile, we're seeing more more and more of that trend coming to Europe or North America. We're still not at the same levels as Southeast Asia or LATAM, yet it is coming there. And I believe in for Call of Duty Mobile specifically, there was a league and some regional playoffs coming out of Western Europe as well, and these were watched quite considerably on YouTube. So we're seeing this trend coming here as well.
Yeah, it's interesting considering how many titles are booming now in different parts of the world. So let's see how it turns out in Europe and in US, whether we're gonna follow the MENA, the LATAM, sorry,
In MENA,
or
actually,
South Asia.
mobile gaming is also growing quite rapidly.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Daria. So, to wrap up, a piece of advice for young girls in the end who are just about to enter the industry or don't know how to even do that. What would you advise them?
So I think that this advice probably can relate to anyone, not just young girls wanting to enter the gaming industry, but probably it applies even more for them, is to keep pushing, no matter how many doors you see closed in front of you. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, I tried to apply to YouTube 5 times. All 4 times rejected, arriving into final interviews, and then eventually they're like, okay, let's just take this girl. She's not gonna leave us alone. And then even in the gaming industry, I had to push and push to get credibility in the industry. And therefore, I think as girls in gaming, there might still be a little bit of that misconception, and you might to push a little bit harder to get to where you want.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, this advice can apply to multiple industries, and this is just something. However obvious it might sound, we just need to remind people about that. So it's great that you said that, especially that you can base this advice on your own experience that turned out to be very successful. So it was, as always, lovely and very inspiring talking to you. And thank you, Daria.
Thank you so much, Dominica, for inviting me. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today, no matter where in the world or at what point of your career stage you are. I'm truly curious about what this podcast brings to you today. Was it a spark of inspiration for your next project? A much needed kick to send this one more application for a dreamed job position? Or maybe we simply had a chance to accompany you in your morning coffee routine. Connect with me via email or on Twitter and share your thoughts. Make sure you also like It's Her Game page on Facebook and follow the Instagram account It's Her Game _podcast for exclusive content and to make sure you won't miss the next episode. Have a wonderful day. Bye!